Hello, hello, Aderson Oliveira here for the DNN Store. I have Kelly Ford with me. He is the founder of DNNDev, the company behind XMod Pro. XMod Pro is one of the top selling modules on the DNN Store. And actually I've checked just today and it is the second highest revenue generator on the DNN Store of all times. See?
Oh, well, I haven't checked that lately. That's always nice to hear.
Second one. I mean, right at the top. Love using XMod. I use it a lot on DNNHero.com. I have actually done a few videos on XMod as well. Yeah, Kelly, welcome.
Thanks, Aderson. I appreciate it. It's good to be here.
Perfect. Okay, so let's start talking a little bit. I mean, where are you guys located? Talk a little bit about your organization, your company. You know. Let's start there.
Okay. Well, we're located in the hot deserts of Arizona.
So nice.
Well, it's not so nice right now. We're in the middle of the monsoon season, which means we have 110, 115 degree temperatures and humidity, so it's no longer a dry heat. This is our worst time. This is really when we stay inside. It's kind of like our winter. But this is where we're located, and obviously I spend a lot of time inside these days, so we just program here. It's primarily myself, and also my family's coming in on it now. And then we have some other people that we work with on and off from time to time, and of course our community members that are huge help.
Okay, so let's start talking a little bit about the past. Again, that's a very traditional question. How did you get first started with DNN? I'm not talking about XMod, I'm not talking about your company, I'm talking about DNN specifically.
Sure. I've been around DNN for a long time. I think the first version I worked with was 1.08 back in 2003. That was, I think that was actually slightly before snow coverage started out, or they were there, but they were still selling iBuySpy modules. I think it was really a long time ago. I think I'm dating myself too much, but yeah, I've been there. I was actually charged by the company I was working with at the time to help find a solution based on ASP.NET that we could use for our intranet. And also we were looking at trying to provide some access to our systems for our clients, for that company's clients. And so I was looking around at various things. Of course, I saw iBuySpy, and then I saw .NET Nuke, and I'm like, ooh, this looks really, really neat. Let me play around with this. And so I started building sites with it, just my own sites, play sites, really, to get used to it, and became quite enamored with it and started building things, building modules so I could kind of make things work. You know, it's like Legos, really. Putting modules together to make some sort of coherent whole out of them. It was real fun.
Perfect. So again, that's how you first got started with DNN. But again, now you have XMod Pro, and it has been there for a while now. So let's start with what is XMod Pro. I mean, start from the assumption that I don't know anything about XMod Pro. So tell us what it is.
Okay. Well, actually, XMod Pro was born out of my previous product, XMod, which I built for my own purposes, really, because as I was telling you, I was building modules for .NET Nuke at the time, and this was back about, I started actually selling XMod where DNN 2.12, I think, was released. And that was one of those first major milestone versions of .NET Nuke, I think, that made it really stable and people really kind of climbed on board. But I got really tired of every time I wanted to put some sort of different data on .NET Nuke, I had to build a complete module from scratch. I had to do all the boilerplate database work. I had to do all the user interface work, all the work with the DNN API. And I'm like, I just want to add some HTML and just have my module do everything else for me. Because most of the time, when you're dealing with data, you're dealing with lists of data. Book lists, review lists, car lists, all sorts of things. And you're looking at a detailed view of that data, and you want a form to enter that data in with. And those are all common concepts to any kind of solution that has any data behind it. So I built something for myself that would do that, and then I decided to offer it up for sale on the store, and what do you know, people liked it.
So if I ask you what is the most common use case or the most common usage of XMod, what can you tell me about what it is? What is the most common use of XMod?
That's a really difficult question, because XMod really isn't a module per se. It's a development tool. It's used to build things, anything really that you want to build. I would say the most common use case would be the most common module that people want to build. Typically, it's going to be a contact us form, or it's going to be maybe product catalog or inventory solution. I can't really narrow it down, unfortunately, to what the most common use case is, because it's used in every use case primarily.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good way to position that. But then if I ask you, what is the target audience for XMod? I mean, is that a module for beginners? Is that a module for the more technical inclined users? What can you tell me about that?
Well, I'd like to think that, okay, first of all, it's called XMod Pro for a reason. We do aim towards developers and professionals, power users. However, what I found over my 10 years now, I guess I'm in my 11th year of doing this, is that, and what's most gratifying actually and with this module is that I found that I've built it in such a way that you can get started really quickly. Because when you have something to build, you're on a deadline, you want to get something out there quickly. And so I provided the tools to do that. We have a form builder with drag and drop and click, and you have a form done, and then with a few more clicks, you have a view of that data already built for you. You don't have to know anything about HTML or databases or any of that stuff. It's all done behind the scenes. But then once you have that, you start going, I would really like to add this, or I want to move this here and that over there, and I'd like this to happen when that clicks. And that leads you on a natural progression towards saying, okay, well, I want to learn a little bit more about HTML so I can move these things around or change the look of this. And, well, I better look at some CSS so I can make this red. And then you're like, okay, well, I want to provide more interaction, so I start learning JavaScript. And the great thing about XMod Pro is it allows you to take that progression. A lot of people look at it saying, oh, it's really complicated. But if you take it as a natural progression, it becomes a very easy thing to use. And I've actually had many concrete examples of people who have gone from zero knowledge to being really experts. They become JavaScript gurus. They start working with databases. It's really quite gratifying. So, yeah, it's both. If you're just trying to dive in and do everything at once, yeah, you should be more technically inclined. But if you give yourself some time and work with the tools that are provided, you can get something up and running and just start tweaking, and you'll find yourself learning a ton of stuff without really knowing it.
Got it. I see. So what you're saying is that there's something there for the beginner, and there's something there for the advanced user as well if they want to dive deeper, isn't it?
Beginner, advanced, and beyond advanced. My primary driving goal was that I hate being locked into what some developer thinks I should do. So I've designed XMod Pro so that you can decide what you want to do. You don't have to pay attention to any of the user interface components that I have. You don't have to fit in with my CSS framework or the way that I've tried to integrate certain things. It's your data. It's your HTML. It's your CSS. It's your JavaScript. If that's not enough for you, then you can actually do custom programming. You can build your own custom form controls, custom views of data that are all server-side things. You can build little actions that plug into the form that happen after someone submits a form. Really, you could do anything with it. It's that kind of tool that grows with you. You're not going to feel constrained by it going forward. Got it.
And as a developer myself, I usually have a hard time figuring out where's the line between that. You know what? In a way, I outgrow XMod and I need to go and dive deep now into custom development. So, I mean, do you see that line draw somewhere that says that, if you want to go that far, then you know what, it's better if you go with your own, custom module development. XMod doesn't go that far. I mean, do you see that line drawn somewhere?
It's technically possible to do everything with XMod Pro, but I'm not going to be pompous and say that, oh, we can solve every one of your problems. But it can solve most of your problems, and most of the time you can do whatever you want with it and never have to do custom development. But there are there are situations where your client really wants a lot of heavy customization, and they want specific interactions to happen at specific times. And there simply is no way any module, no matter how flexible, could live up to that. So in those cases, I would say, yeah, it's probably better off for you to build it on your own. But even then, I would say you should, at the very least, prototype it in XMod Pro, because you can get it done really quickly. Mm-hmm. You might actually find through your prototyping that this is what the client wants, or this works. I've had that happen to a number of clients or customers on occasion, where their prototype actually turned into the real thing. They didn't have to make any changes at all. And it helps you kind of flesh out how that app is going, and it gives you something you can show the client very quickly. And then you might just find out you just have to add a custom action, for instance, because really all your client wants is something specific to happen whenever some data is submitted. So you just write a custom action that takes you 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then you're done.
Got it. Okay, so there is this statement that I don't necessarily agree 100%, but I did decide to bring this up to our conversation, is that some users, they say that there's a bit of a steep learning curve to XMod. Mm-hmm. And I think you briefly touched that point just a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
Do you want to touch a little bit more on that point? I mean, maybe just to tell your thoughts about someone that gives this statement. That again, honestly, I don't necessarily think that it's true, because I think that I know so much about XMod that, again, it's no longer true to me. But again, go for it.
Yeah, it's a valid concern that people raise. If you're just to look at it, if you don't know anything about HTML or JavaScript or the way that apps are built, it's going to look complicated. If you just kind of put on blinders for a second when you start it and you use the built-in tools, you'll see that the system is there for you already with just point and click. All the extra code that you might see is there for you to customize as you see fit, when you see fit, when you're able to make those changes. So it's always been a kind of a point of contention with me. It's actually very easy to use and very easy to get started. But the thing that makes people think that it's highly technical in nature is that all that extensibility, which you don't have to take advantage of until you're ready to take advantage of it. And believe me, you're going to want to take advantage of it. I don't care how easy to use something is, you are going to run into a time when you want to customize it. And if you have one of these pre-built, easy to use tools where you click and drag, you're usually locked in to that system, and you don't have the kind of flexibility you need moving forward. And those people like you and like a lot of my customers that have moved beyond the beginning stages have realized that. And that's why we have such long-term customers, because they realize the value of that. Your client's going to come back inevitably and say, hey, I want to change this. And suddenly you realize, oh, that tool that was so great at building something to begin with, it doesn't do that. What do I do? Well, with this XMod, you can make those changes.
Very true, very true. Okay, so let's go a little bit beyond the product. Actually, it's still on the product, but one thing that I admire a lot in people that are able to focus their efforts on something, and I can see that very much on you and your organization there, because you have, in a way, you have a single product that you have been working on it over the years and refining it like a diamond, that you have been, making it better and cutting and making it nicer.
Yeah.
How are you, and I'm sure that the ideas of other modules may have come across your head a lot of times. Mm-hmm. How were you able to say, you know what, forget about all of that, I'm going to continue just make this better and really focus on that? I mean, how are you able to do that? I'm not able to do that. How are you able to do that?
Well, I think part of it, I've been lucky in the nature of the product itself. It's one of those things that you can use to build all sorts of things. So when I think about, and believe me, I've had ideas for lots of other modules. When I think about building them, I might even start to prototype them, and then I realize, oh, no, I can just do this with XMod Pro. Or maybe, oh, here's a great idea I can add to XMod Pro that I get from this other module I might have built. In the past, I built some things with XMod. I built an RSS reader that would take RSS data and allow you to display it in XMod. But everything just seems to revolve around it. It's such a core component of my development and the way that I look at .NET Nuke that I can't really see building any other modules out there. Now there's some applications where I don't think that using XMod Pro would be appropriate. I don't think that it's good to build like a forum module with XMod Pro, for instance. But in most other circumstances, I would say 80-85% of the things that you would want to build, you can do in XMod Pro. That's part of the reason. The other part is really my customers, the community that's built up. Many of them have really seriously, literally built their businesses from the ground up on the back of XMod Pro. I can't let those people down. They have all sorts of their own clients that are depending essentially through them on me. And the best thing that I can do is to support them going forward, as I've been doing for 10 years so far. And that's by making the product better. So I pay a lot of attention to the feedback that I'm getting from my customers. I don't always implement the features that they want because my job really is to provide a tool that doesn't lock you in. And many of the times the requests that I get, they tend to be based on what that particular person's client wants at the time. But a lot of times I will get the hidden truth behind what that feature is, and I will find kind of the abstract feature that we need, and I'll implement that. And so that's kind of the beauty of it. It makes it fun. Working through those scenarios and working through, well, is that really a good benefit for my users? It might be great now, but 6 months down the line, or when that fad, no one uses that particular framework anymore, is that going to be valid, or is that just going to be more cruft added to the program? So that's kind of it. It really is, like you said, it's kind of like cutting a diamond, but my customers are really cutting that diamond for me.
Okay, nice way to put it. Okay, so moving on here. By checking your website, I saw something called DNNDev University. So I would like you to dive a little bit into that aspect of your website and tell us a little bit more of what is that about,
Sure. That's one of the ways that I've taken to approach some of this feedback that I've gotten, that it's complex. With any development tool like Visual Studio, for instance, if you're developing Microsoft products, any kind of tool like that, everybody's going to want to know how to build something. How do I do this particular thing? The product itself is so deep that, and I think you probably are discovering it now, that you can do all sorts of things with it, but it looks daunting, or it may look daunting to begin with. So the university is really a way to try to take people from those early stages with articles and videos through to more advanced topics, and answering questions from customers as they come in on the answers page. We might turn those into full-fledged articles. It's a work in progress still. I plan to eventually flesh it out even more, where we have full classes essentially, where we'll cover various components of XMod Pro and take you from beginning to master through that whole process. So yeah, I'm kind of using the university as an analogy, metaphor that I can work with to build this out. And incidentally, it was built with XMod Pro too.
Got it. Okay. Good use case.
Yes.
Okay, so I saw on the DNN Store a lot of things called the module kits.
Yeah.
And it seems that it's a way. I'll not tell. Go for it. What are module kits for XMod?
That's okay. You're doing very well. You could have continued.
The point is, you are the interviewee. I'm the interviewer. I should not be talking too much.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Well, I'm enjoying listening to you anyway. So the module kits, they are yet another way that we're trying to make things easier, or the lives easier for clients, people who purchase XMod Pro, they're packages. They're like regular .NET Nuke modules, but they are packaged components for XMod Pro. We offer them for free, and they're used primarily to demonstrate how to do certain things, how to get you up and running in a particular area really quickly. We have all sorts of them. A lot of them are packaged around publicly available open source projects, JavaScript projects. So you can see how easy it is, or how to integrate some of these more popular plugins with XMod Pro and your own data. We have prepackaged registration modules, timeline, which is actually on the DNNsoftware.com site as well, that shows the DNN history, and all of that. There are different ways you can use XMod Pro. We're trying to show how you can use it through these, and also show that you don't really have to buy a specific module to make it happen. A number of our customers have said that they actually are trying to get rid of extra modules because they have a problem dealing with multiple vendors. But at the same time, you want to be able to have that flexibility, right? You don't want to be tied into a particular vendor, and you're not really tied into a particular vendor with XMod Pro because you have access to all the data. A lot of people will take a module that they really like that's not XMod Pro, but maybe it doesn't display the data in the way that they want. Maybe it is the forum module, or maybe it is some news module or something like that. Well, they like the way that it handles the data on the back end, but they don't like the way it's displayed. So they'll use XMod Pro to display it because they have access to the data through XMod Pro. So you're never tied in to what we decide. And we're trying to show some of that through these module kits.
Got it. Okay, so going beyond the module kits, I also saw some commercial plugin there as well. And you have some evangelists, I think, as well. I mean, Ryan Moore is one of those that he has a lot of commercial plugins for XMod. And also I saw Reflect Media. I don't know who is behind them, but yeah, I mean, talk about a little bit about that. I mean, you have you are almost like developing your own little ecosystem there, of people developing for your module,
Well, I've always believed that the best business practice is if you can set up a win-win situation. So I've always tried to provide the highest value to my customers. And through this process, really, of people going from zero to expert, there have been, and the extensibility of XMod Pro, there have been a lot of people that say, oh, I've built this. I've got a better file upload control than the built-in one in XMod Pro. I would like to make this available. And so people have done this. I pre-built in these extensibility points, and I actively encourage people to build plugins, to build solutions with XMod Pro and offer them for sale. They don't have to pay me a license fee or any of that stuff, because it's better for my customers. I want them to have the same kind of choice that they would have with other modules, but I'm not going to be able to build everything myself. And the more people that I can get developing plugins and solutions for XMod Pro, the better off my customers are ultimately, and the better off everybody is. Those plugin developers, Patrick Ryan is behind the Reflect Media Group, and he's got some excellent controls. Ryan's got some excellent controls, and people use them all the time. And many times they're building those plugins based on some things that their clients have asked of them, so they're very applicable. So I'm really happy about that. That's a great thing to see happen.
Yeah, it's good to see. I mean, your baby there. I mean, people jumping on that baby and making it better.
Yeah.
Must be the feeling that Sean had back then. Anyway.
Yeah, I honestly believe that the reason the .NET Nuke is still here when other technologies have flown the coop or just died a slow death is because it had a powerful ecosystem around it. Part of that actually was due to the Snow Covered Store, and the permissive BSD license that .NET Nuke had that allowed commercial modules to be built. That I credit them very highly for doing that. That's one of the things that provides a strong backbone for any platform. And most of the other platforms came to that realization much later in the game than .NET Nuke did. So major kudos to .NET Nuke for that.
Very good, very good. Okay, so to get us going here, can you think of any implementation of XMod, any site implementation of XMod that really surprised you, that and maybe this would be hard to pick one, but again, I'm looking for one or two or three maybe that really caught your attention, and you got surprised of what kind of implementation they have done there. So do you have examples of that?
Let me think. Yeah, of course, over 10 years, there are tons of examples. One of the ones recently that has struck me is the same guy that's behind Reflect Media Group. He has a site called localliveinads.com, and the entire site essentially is built on XMod Pro. You wouldn't know it. I mean, you can't tell, but if you go to look at, you should check it out later. It really is quite nice. He's got a great design aesthetic, but one of the things that he built for it, that his classifieds is built on XMod Pro. His business directory is built on XMod Pro. But one of the great things he did, also built on XMod Pro, was he created actually a private messaging system. And it looks just like the Apple iMessage type of interface.
Got it, okay.
It's got the little bubbles on it, and you type it. The UI looks very similar to it with the iOS 7 aesthetic. And I was amazed because you actually have this private messaging. You can actually have chats. You can see the responses and replies. It's like a cross between chatting and email, really, what the user interface was. Unfortunately, that's behind. You have to log in with an account to be able to see it. But that was the most intriguing one that I've seen recently. Some of the others have been people using XMod Pro to manage their DNN sites, which I thought was really neat too.
Okay.
So they're actually going out and they're, and I think Ryan Moore built something similar to this, where they have a module that checks meta tags and descriptions for all of your pages and allows you to update them right there in that interface without having to go to each page. I think you can even change skins using this. So anything that's available in the database, you can essentially do with XMod Pro. And that, I thought, was really an interesting way of approaching the whole situation. If you don't like the way .NET Nuke has something built, just use XMod Pro and do it yourself. Redo the user interface. It's not a big deal. So I think those two would be the best, most interesting examples that I've seen recently.
Perfect. I'm gonna get those links from you, and I'm gonna post on the video as well.
Okay.
Okay, so let's in a way we're coming to an end here, but let's talk a little bit about the future.
Okay.
Look at DNN and DNN Corp and the project itself. Where would you like the project to be taken on? I mean, if you were the one to make certain decisions out there, I mean, is there anything that you would do differently? Anything that you like to see happening in the DNN project? I mean, anything that you feel comfortable talking about?
Let's see. Well, in addition to listening to my customers and their problems or their issues, their challenges, I've also been doing client development too, so I can stay close to my customers and what they experience on a daily basis in working with XMod Pro. And going forward, I think the .NET Nuke has made some really good changes recently. There's been a lot of hyperbole and hoopla over some of the changes that have been made, especially when they went to Evoke. I actually thought that was necessary. The whole, even though I sported my .NET Nuke shirt from the initial .NET Nuke convention in Vegas, I don't think that the word .NET Nuke was beneficial for the platform as a whole. It's good when it's a hobby type of platform, but it needed to grow up, and I think that's one of the things that are happening now. It's good for everybody because it allows .NET Nuke to, I don't want to say infiltrate, but yes, infiltrate Fortune 500 companies and all sorts of businesses. People start to feel comfortable with it rather than .NET Nuke. What? That sounds like a kid's language. So just rebranding it as DNN, which is what we were calling it anyway, I thought was a great move. I think that moving Joe up in the hierarchy has been a huge boom. And I think that the extra connections that DNN Corp is making with our European friends has been a big help too. That's always been a source of contention, I think. So greater reliance on support from people in countries outside of North America is a really good thing, and it's good for everybody. If I were to look for some things that I would like to have changed, again, some of these are happening now. I would like to see .NET Nuke be a little bit less heavy-handed in the way it handles the user interface, a little bit less heavy overall. And I think they're making great strides in that now. They're really starting to reduce the amount of code that's being delivered to the client. If we could get to a point where we could just skin it ourselves without having to worry too much, and you can't always do this, but without having to worry too much about some of the internal factors like the DNN menu, for instance, which always complicates skin development. That would be great. I don't have any particular suggestions along those lines, but if I were living in an ideal world, I would just be able to create my own skin from scratch and just plug in a few skin tokens and just let it go. But that's primarily it. I like to see the focus on. I would like to see the focus on the commerce side of things pick up more. I like the fact that .NET Nuke is moving into the Fortune 500, those types of companies. Obviously, they're selling the product for Fortune 500 prices. That helps them survive, which is good for all of us. But there's more of a split between the corporate side and the open source side, which I think is a good thing going forward. It's a lot like, I think, Tenjin, the corporate sponsor of MongoDB, I think they handle this corporate versus open source split very well. It's a good model to follow. MongoDB is the document database. So there's not a lot. I just think it's an evolutionary process. The lighter we can make it, the better. The more mobile we can make it, the better. That is huge. If we can have, I don't even want them to build in touch controls or the ability to have touch. I would much rather than just trim down the HTML and CSS and the JavaScript that they have, so that we can build our own solutions on mobile. Ideally, that's the ultimate solution, is to be able to have a site that doesn't seem like it's a .NET Nuke site. You're starting to see all these Bootstrap sites out there that look just like Bootstrap. And no one really wants to have a site that looks like everybody else's site. So if we can have .NET Nuke sites and primarily we do, but if we can have .NET Nuke sites on mobile that don't look either like Bootstrap or don't look like .NET Nuke sites on mobile, then I think we're going to be better off. One of the things ideally I would like to do going forward with XMod Pro is find a way to put XMod Pro on mobile so that you can manage your .NET Nuke site from your phone, which is something I find myself always having to do when I'm on the run. I'm like, oh, I can't tap that menu. It drives me crazy. Things like that. But nothing too out of the way. I think the direction that .NET Nuke Corp is going in and the software is going in is a good direction. Just faster, faster, faster.
Got always faster.
Yes.
Okay, very good, very good. There is one point that you didn't mention. I don't know if it was on purpose or not, but I'm assuming that you have heard about Project Maverick. That is the initiative that most likely will be driving DNN either to work in parallel with MVC and web forums, or they don't know yet what will end up happening, but Charles Nurse is leading that initiative. Mm-hmm. So do you have any opinion on that front of having MVC on DNN as well? Any opinions on that?
Personally, I don't like it. Really, to be bluntly honest, any problems that .NET Nuke might have really kind of stem from ASP.NET. And it is over-engineered. And as I spend a lot of time working in other technologies and other platforms. I've been building Node sites, I've been building Mongo sites, because you have to be comfortable with what's out there in order to bring new ideas to your current platform, your current working platform. And one of the things I found just really difficult is applying some of these tools and techniques that are out there that everybody, all the leading developers are using to the Windows world, the ASP.NET world, and by extension the .NET Nuke world. So relying on MVC, that's what everybody in ASP.NET wants to do, because that's really the only solution that Microsoft has offered. I would really love to see .NET Nuke move in a different direction where they start handling their own routing, so that they can provide developers with a way to control URLs better than what Microsoft has offered. I've been working a lot with the Web API, or DNN's implementation of the Web API, and that also is limited in what you can do in terms of URL paths and routing. And so that's not ideal. It's much better than it used to be, but it's not ideal. So I'm not saying that there is a way you can do it. There's so much history to .NET Nuke right now that it's hard to divorce the platform from its underpinnings and its history. So I'm fully supportive of it. I just, from a personal standpoint, if there's a way that we could just avoid the MVC stuff and try to make .NET Nuke stand on its own. It could still run on IIS, but help it work more on its own, more like what a site built on Linux would be, an Apache site or a Node site would offer, that kind of flexibility. Again, I think, as with everything, there are competing interests in all of this, and by going that route, you then make the whole platform harder for newcomers to use. And so there's a big trade-off. So that's why I'm saying, from my own personal standpoint, that's what I would like, but that may not be the best for the platform.
Got it. Okay, so let's go back to your product. You quickly mentioned there that you'd like to see XMod being easier to use and manage on mobile. Is that what you see next on XMod Pro? Is that your next step here? What should you expect news there?
I'm not sure that I should say anything right now, but XMod Pro 5 has been in the works for some time now, and it promises to be a huge change. Everything that's been built with XMod Pro before still works. It'll be completely backwards compatible, but in terms of approach and features and functionality, it's going to be a radically improved system. And at that point in time, I will say anybody who's a beginner will be able to take advantage of XMod Pro and stay in that beginner stage if they want, or move on if they want. But they'll be able to not just have a form built for them, but they will be able to continue to modify it with a point-and-click interface, for instance, going forward. But the beauty is that even with that, people are going to have the ability to customize, to go beyond the point-and-click interface, still as they do now, and customize to their heart's content. So that's really, there's a lot of challenges involved in doing that and doing it well. I don't really speak too much about any competitors most of the time. But one thing that I found is that when you do find XMod Pro is always considered a forms module, but it really isn't a forms module. It is, but that's only, at the very least, that's half of it. It's probably not, maybe a third of it. What you've got in this one module is a forms module. You've got a module that displays grids and bullet lists of your data. You've got a module that spits out RSS feeds or sends emails and marketing that integrates with third-party services. You only have to buy that one module, whereas with other competitors, you end up having to buy multiple modules of theirs, and that's a perfectly valid approach. But from my particular perspective, I've never wanted to be tied in, and so you can use XMod Pro to really build whatever you want, and still not have to be locked in. You can still use other modules and just integrate them well. I never want to be tied into any ecosystem specifically. I don't want to have to be tied into the .NET Nuke ecosystem, to be frank. I love .NET Nuke, and obviously I've been with it for 10 years now. But I want to be able to do things that other developers are doing, because ultimately my goal as a developer is to build solutions for my clients. And the better I'm able to do that, the better off everyone is, and the better off the platform is. So the better I'm able to integrate with other technologies and techniques, the better off my clients are. So it's tough because part of, to get back to my original point, is that when you can make something point and click and easy to use, it's a lot easier to do for forms than it is for views, because views are highly customizable. Really, there's an infinite number of possibilities. And at the very point that you start making something point and click from a view standpoint is the point you start restricting people's flexibility and their ability to do things. Yet people still want that flexibility, or they want that ability to do things quickly. So version 5 is going to really focus a lot on trying to bring those divergent worlds together, the ease of use along with the flexibility. I wish I could say more. I got some prototypes together that just, they floor me. I love them. So that's what the future is for XMod Pro. But they're, like I said, I'm moving into other technologies and learning new ideas from those environments like Node and Mongo. And I'm still looking for ways to make management and .NET stuff palatable on mobile devices. And of course, I'm open to ideas. So if anybody has ideas on what they would like to see, I'm always open. My ears are pinned to the monitor.
Perfect. Very good, Kelly. Kelly, we are again coming to an end finally here. I mean, I don't know how long we have been on, but
I didn't see the ramble. Sorry.
Neither did I. No, that's a good thing. I mean, the conversation is going well. Okay, so we are coming to an end here, Kelly. Thank you very much for your time. I mean, do you have any final words, any promos that you want to give to the audience that stayed this far in the interview?
Let me see. Yes. Yeah, obviously, thanks for watching the interview all the way through to the end. So yeah, I'll be giving away 30% off on XMod Pro at the DNN Store. And to do that, all you have to do is enter in the following code. Get your pencils ready when you check out. It is XMP SEPT02. That's XMP as in XMod Pro, SEPT as in September, and 02 as in 02. So enter that and get 30% off. That's only good through, I think, the 10th. So hurry along.
Perfect.
Other than that, final thoughts. Let's see. I would say, it's not immediate right now. There have been a lot of good things that have happened lately in the .NET space. But prior, there's been a lot of kind of bad blood, bad words that have gone on the forums. A lot of what I would consider overhyped people being upset about things that they don't really have to be upset about. But again, from the corp side of things, I would say that having people who are complaining just means that they believe in your product. They're on board with the platform. After all, people complain about Microsoft. They complain about Apple, which is supposedly the golden boy in the marketplace these days. So it's all good. I think those of us who would like to complain should first see how we can contribute to make things better, and then use our positions within the community to make the whole platform better, and to try to bring more people into the platform, make it more diverse, bring other opinions in. So that's it. I love .NET. I've been with it since the nearly the beginning, for over 10 years now. I don't see it going anywhere. It's not going to die anytime soon. It will need, like every technology, it will need to adapt to thrive and survive, and it's doing that. It's showing signs of it. So I'm feeling very good about the prospects for the platform going forward.
Perfect. Okay. So Kelly, once again, thank you very much for your time, and keep up the great work that you do there with XMod. And I really appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Well, and we appreciate you being there at DNN Hero. You do great work there.
Thank you very much. Bye.
All right.